Okay, this should be working properly. So yeah, this is the game that we're gonna be looking into. It is one of the games that were sent during the previous week, and I do find it to be a rather entertaining one. We're gonna start off with the analysis of the team comps the way we usually do, and we are gonna be focusing on the blue team's bot lane this time because it is gonna end up providing you with a pretty decent amount of valuable information and rather valuable game insights. So let's get into it. The game is, when you look at it from the primary when you look at it from this primary standpoint, the game does look like it ends up essentially having a pretty heavy late game focus, which it does, but there is a couple of pretty fun factors. First one being the follow, or actually, I'm not going to go into that straight away. I'm going to start off with the top lane analysis, and then we're going to move down. So, top lane we have an Aatrox into a Riven, Aatrox Conqueror, Teleport and Flash, Riven Ignite, Conqueror, Flash. This does tell you that this Riven is gonna end up having a more aggressive approach compared to the Aatrox, and she's gonna be trying to play a kill lane with this Aatrox. Generally, this game or this lane itself is more skill based than it is counter based. Both of those champs can end up winning this lane quite easily without any significant issues, and it really ends up being skill based. Both of them want to win early, and both of those champions are more than capable of hyper carrying the game itself. Jungle, we have a Kayn into a Kha'Zix. Again, scaling junglers on both sides. Kha'Zix is more focused on single targets. He can end up picking them up, catching people off quite easily. Kayn, on the other hand, again, like we look into his rune, it's a first strike that tells us that he's gonna be going for the blue Kayn, and that means that he's gonna be trying to act as the primary damage dealer for his team. Now the fact we do see a blue cane right there also does tell us that this it also does tell us who exactly this cane has to target, who he has to prioritize, and that's gonna be the red team's bottom lane. He needs to play around the Vayne and Lulu most of the time. When it comes to the mid lane, we have a Vlad into a Kassadin. Again, both of those tend to play a highly scaling game. Lane-wise, no one really has a lead. I don't expect much to be happening there. Essentially, there is going to be no kills unless one of them makes a really big misplay. Ganking-wise, this lane can be ganked only in those really early levels when either Vladimir's W ends up finishing on the cooldown, or option number two, when before Kassadin gets the ultimate. So it's a gankable lane, but only in this very short window of time. So if either Kayn or Kha'Zix want to make something happen in that lane, it is gonna have to be really early. Bot lane, we have a Kai'Sa and Maokai into a Vayne and into a Lulu. This is the lane that, in my opinion, does end up being the most entertaining. Because you do have AD carries that tend to be similar to each other. Like, we have good scaling on both of them, and both of them can end up by default taking over the game. Now, an important part regarding this is that you quite easily can end up, if you were playing on the blue side, you could end up over focusing the fact you have a hyper engaged support in your Maokai, and you can end up taking this game slightly more aggressive than you should, which is the first red flag. When it comes to the bot lane itself, you have to respect the zones. And when you're playing as an engaged support, your kill zone basically goes from this turret until this line right there. Uh, Anything further away, it is too risky because you can end up being countered, you can end up being ganked, and it's simply not worth it. It's a pretty bad idea. And let's say, for example, that Maokai ends up dropping his bind on a Lulu from there to, for example, this start of this stone right there. She can just end up flashing into her own turret's range, bringing Maokai under the turret and messing up his game and messing up his laning phase that way. So when you end up being too close to the enemy turret as an engaged support, it simply ends up being far too risky for you, and you do not have all of this nice space that you want to have when you're trying to kill someone. And in addition to that, you're facing a Lulu who does end up being a pretty good poking champ. So all this, like this zone right there, she can use it to poke you down, and she can use it to poke you down quite heavily. So for as long as Maokai tries to play around of this zone, he's gonna be constantly paying he's constantly gonna be paying with his health for that. So instead, what Maokai and Kaisa should aim to do is try to get the wave to push towards them, not only so that they can end up setting up some nice fights as this happens, but also because this ends up enabling them to set up ganks for the Maokai, and that is for them something that ends up being even more important. Not Maokai, but Kayn. They want to get the Kayn ahead. So by opening up the lane for Kayn, they can end up getting their jungler ahead, and they can end up getting themselves ahead as well, which is extremely big. And that's again a thing that you have to be thinking about all the time. This game is not only about your personal win condition, but it is also about the team win condition, and that is extremely important. If, for example, Kaisa and Maokai wanted to treat this as a solo lane, and if they wanted to focus only around their own win condition, they could try to play this hyper aggressively, push the wave in, but that would open them up to Kha'Zix's ganks, and Kha'Zix can gank them only if they end up mispositioning, only if they end up pushing too hard. That's the fact number one. And the fact number two right there is that Wayne and Lulu do have a mix of heal and exhaust. So essentially, with heal and exhaust and the amount of CC they have, they can quite easily overpower the combination of ignite and ghost that Kai'Sa and Maokai are running. So that's why this ends up being a really tricky fight to play around of, and that's why Maokai and Kaisa simply have to take it really slowly. Even though at first it does seem as if they do have a clear lead, it is way better for them to take this type of an approach. Now, what else matters is that again, like this game is gonna be breaking in that bot lane. That's gonna be the defining factor. I don't think that the blue team's spot lane is gonna do what we said they should do. So they're gonna be falling into the trap of we can play aggressively into Vayne and Lulu, and they're gonna be punished. And that's something that you're gonna see quite soon for yourself. And in addition to that one, another thing that I want to highlight is that in addition to all of this, you also want to ask yourself simply how crucial the win conditions are for you. Now, what exactly do I mean? So, Kayn, for example, even though he's a hyper carry, like when you look at the blue side, four of those champs can hyper carry the game. Aatrox, Kai'Sa, Vlad, Kayn. All of them are extremely good hyper carries. But the thing is that Vladimir can end up going 0-0-0 in the first 15 minutes of the game, and it is not going to influence it is not going to influence his power spikes a lot. Like, essentially, he gets his power spikes with items, so he does not really care. But Blue Kane, on the other hand, if he's not ahead, he's gonna end up being useless. He's not gonna be able to do that much at all, and that is the reason why, for him, playing around of that bot lane is crucial. He simply needs to make it work with Maokai and with Kai'Sa, because if he fails to get it done, essentially they're gonna be in a really bad spot. Another thing, when it comes to invading, no team really wants to invade right there because we have extremely bad early levels, and an invade would be a massive coin toss for both sides. So level 1 invade, absolutely no. Obviously, you can try to counter the level 1 invade if you want to, but in essence, like it's not if you want to rephrase, you have to counter the level 1 invade no matter what the game tells you, like always, because you never know what the people are going to try to do. But in this game, it is not something that should be done by anyone. We're gonna speed this up a little bit. So yeah, we do see Kai'Sa, they're stacking up in this bush, making sure that they're covering it, having vision. Nothing really ends up happening. We find Kha'Zix stop. So this alone is a pretty nice showcase of what that Kha'Zix is gonna try to do. With him being there so late, that tells you that he's gonna start the red buff and he's gonna be patting red to blue. Which means again that if those guys decide to push, as we explicitly said they should not, they're gonna be extremely open to a Kha'Zix gank by the time he gets to that bot lane part of the map. Now they start pushing, they're working on that level 2 prio. Again, like there is no real reason for that. Level 2 prio is great, but not when it ends up messing up your entire lane. Now obviously they cannot push the wave quickly enough. As you can see, the wave did not get pushed quickly enough. Now they have a cannon. The wave is basically frozen. It's not like a 100% by the book freeze, but this alone is a really bad positioning for Kai'Sa and Maokai. And as you see, Maokai is already getting chunked down quite nicely. Now again, they see that Kha'Zix just killed Vladimir, and that tells you that Kha'Zix is patting bot. Like they do know he cleared his entire top side, and he's gonna be patting bot. Even though they got the wave pushed in right there, it does not really do anything for them, and the best thing they can do is look for a cheat recall. They got the cannon wave under their enemy turret. Cheat recall is what you do. You do know that the jungler is advancing towards you. There is no reason you take that fight. There is no reason you take the risk. You simply back away and you take a recall, resetting your resources. Let's see how much gold they have. 500 on Kai'Sa, 170 on Maokai. Maokai can get his health back. Kai'Sa can get another tier 1 item, and that's gonna give them a bit of a lead. It's not a massive lead, but it is way better than what is about to happen. And what is about to happen is they do know Kha'Zix is coming. Now, disengage right there by the Maokai is a suicide even without the Kha'Zix. Like, you don't do this. You're too chunked down. They have a lead. They have a lead when it comes to health. They also do rather well damage-wise. So this was a pretty bad idea. Like the exact play we said is going to happen happened, and that led to the red team picking up double kill. This lane is already taking a pretty bad turn. Now the only good side is obviously Aatrox ends up taking a solo kill top, which is great. But let's sum it up right now. With those 2 early kills given to the enemy red team, Maokai and Kaisa cannot keep pushing. They need to make sure that the wave ends up again being as close to them as humanly possible, and they need to keep it slow. They do not want to end up overthinking, they do not want to end up overextending. They simply want to sit in front of their turret and once again do exactly what we said they want to do. Now again, they don't do it, they try to play a little bit aggressively. Kane ends up invading Kha'Zix, finds nothing, which was expected. Okay. Now, yeah, Maokai ends up engaging, does a little bit of damage, nothing too crazy. The only positive thing for the blue team right now is that Aatrox is starting to do really well. So okay, nice. Vlad picks up a shutdown on the Kha'Zix as well, which is amazing. And this bot lane needs to keep themselves safe. They need to refrain from giving up any extra lead to the Vayne as the number one. Mm, okay, that's pretty good. The wave ends up being pushed in. They do know Kha'Zix is top, so they should aim to hard push this into the turret and go get the Drake. Now that does not happen. Okay, Kayn does go in for the Drake. It does happen. This should be hard pushed and we should be taking this Drake together right there simply because it's safer, but it is what it is. They stay in the lane. This guy should take it solo still, so I don't think that's going to be a massive problem either way. Yeah, Kayn gets the Drake. Now, once again, we do not know where exactly Kha'Zix is at the moment, so the push right there is pretty dangerous. You don't want to end up being that aggressive when you do know that they have a decently fed jungler that can end up collapsing on you. So they need to slow down a little bit. Let the wave get closer. Let the wave be a bit safer, so that we are not getting any nasty surprises from the Kha'Zix right here. Okay, we see Kha'Zix mid ganking the Vlad. That's fine. Now this fight again, same thing as before. There is no reason for Maokai and Kaisa to fight them out, especially not after they end up being poked down. So that was a pretty nasty fight that ended up being a clean win for Vayne and Lulu, and they're slowly starting to pump up and to create that lead. Okay, Maokai ends up rotating. Let's move up. Kaisa pushes the wave in. Shut down on the Aatrox. Kaisa overextends a little bit, gets poked down. So if you were to look into the game right now once again, it would still seem as if it's in a pretty winnable spot at the moment. Uh, but the fact is that it's not exactly like it's it's pretty bad. Like they ended up failing to give a massive lead to that Kane early on, and now the game is pretty close to starting to snowball on the other side, and we do not want to end up seeing that happen. Mm, okay, let's see what else there is that can be done about it. Pum pum pum. Okay, they continued doing some extra pressure, pushing that in. Yeah, Kha'Zix takes out Kane, which is what he should be doing. He knows he's stronger. He does have a pretty nice lead. It's the way he wants to play it out, as aggressively as he can. Dies to the turret. Okay. Okay. Kane gets the void grubs. That's good. Now again, this lane is pretty locked down in a pretty bad spot, even though it should have been a way easier lane for the Maokai and for the Kaisa. They could have hard won this, but they're not. Now they are losing the plates. They are under a lot of pressure, and there is simply not that many openings for them. Like they don't see what they can do. Maokai as an engaged support feels stuck under the turret, pretty useful. And all of that is happening due to those early mistakes that we ended up making. Like now, simply there is nothing he can do. There is no rotate he can take. If he does rotate, Kai'Sa is gonna end up being killed off. Kane's form was pretty slow. And now again, the game itself is winnable, but it is not under the influence of our bot lane, and that is the thing that simply had to be different. Wayne is about to pick up a kill on Kaisa, gets a shot down. Maokai is mid doing nothing. I don't think Kaisa is gonna be too happy about that one. He ends up moving back bot, but he's on his own trying to protect the turret, which fails. Turret goes down. And they keep pushing. They keep taking the yeah, they keep taking the farm. He drops the ultimate, but it's not that good. Let's see. Now they do know that still this guy has no ultimate. They do know they can fight pretty soon, and they should be looking to fight right there. TP by a Kha'Zix. Maokai is dead once again. This they get prio over this wave as well. Now the wave is not the greatest thing ever, but it's not bad. It's gonna be a little bit of extra gold for the red team. Wave is pushed in. Blue team gets the Herald, which is good, but again, like same thing is still the problem. 4-2-3 Kha'Zix getting hyper fed, turning into a carry of this game quite nicely. Aatrox does pick up a kill, which is good, but I don't think he can do much solo. Absolutely. Now with this, they take the turret, they take shutdown on the they take the shutdown on Aatrox, and that ends up being pretty nasty. Vlad is going back top. He wants to continue farming as he should. Kaisa goes mid. She wants to continue farming as she should, and Aatrox is gonna go towards bot. Vlad solo kills the Riven, which is pretty big for the blue team. Now we do know that Riven is dead and Vayne is top, so this should be a pretty safe Drake for the blue team right there. This guy is getting collapsed on as an extra, so this should be a kill. Let's see. Nice, that's a kill. Now they just take the Drake. There should be no any surprises on that end. Okay. Kha'Zix ends up making a mistake. That was completely pointless. You cannot walk up like that when you do know that the enemy team is there, so he did mess that one up quite badly. That's another mistake by the Aatrox right there, completely unnecessary. However, a double kill for Kaisa does make it work slightly better. A lot of mistakes. Like this game so far has been a combination of massive mistakes on both sides, honestly. Blue team did end up digging it out a little bit after this last fight, so they feel as if they're still in the game. Let's see what's gonna be happening. Now, when it comes to the focus of both teams at the moment, for the blue team, the focus is to try to continue playing a round of picks. They have a pretty nice game. They have a pretty nice Aatrox. Vlad can continue splitting quite nicely, but there is no need for them to look for the massive. There is no need for them to look for the massive fights as of now. This should be a Baron. Like there was no reason not to go for the Baron right there. That was a pretty big wasted opportunity. An early Baron would have done quite a lot for the blue team in this situation. They ended up not taking it, sadly, so that was a wasted opportunity. Now we need to look for another fight after which we can try to possibly grab that Baron. We're gonna see whether we get it. Let's see the fight itself. Kassadin ends up being picked out, which is pretty good. Shut down on her again. Double kill for Kai'Sa, working out decently well. Now they end up going back, trying to take the Baron. Let's see if they will. Okay, they back away. It was a pretty unsafe one, so that was a good choice. Now again, same thing. We need a focus on the on the Drake. That's gonna be the next fight that we're gonna be running into. Vlad takes out Kha'Zix, and that's pretty big for us. That's a solid play right there. Should be a pretty free Drake, but Kai'Sa ends up overextending, getting picked out. Uh, that's a lot of utility. They cannot take it. If we go back to the start of that fight, we're gonna see that it happened because Kai'Sa mainly got collapsed on. With her being taken out, this team lost a massive amount of pressure that they initially had, and that is what ended up putting us in a pretty nasty spot. Okay, they take that, and now they're probably gonna look for the Baron as well. Let's see. Okay, Baron is not gonna be happening as of now. Okay. Guys are clearing that up. They're batting for mids. He gets checked down a little bit, nothing too crazy. They're trying to group up, trying to make something happen. We're gonna have a fight pretty soon. It's gonna be a 5 versus 5 one apparently. So let's see how that ends up going for us. They're pushing mid right there. That's a good engage by Maokai. Vayne is taken out. Riven is down. Lulu is down. Pretty good. They just continue pushing right there. Nothing too crazy to worry about. They should aim to take the turret down right there. Possibly even dive the. Okay, so this guy's is. Yeah, she made a mistake right there. Let's go back. After this fight, there is absolutely no reason for the red team to slow the game down as much. What they need to do is move forward and group up, opening up the mid lane. They can quite easily, without any issues, dive the Kassadin under the turret. They have enough CC, they have enough of everything. They just go in, take the Kassadin out. After taking the Kassadin out, this turret is an easy target. They can take the inhib. After taking the inhib, they essentially look to get a quick reset, and after that they can set up themselves for the Baron. That does not happen, sadly, because they make yet another mistake, but that was the correct way of approaching it. Now red team is up. They are back in the game. Let's see what is gonna be happening next. it. We're gonna be having a team fight. Vladimir is coming. We are grouped up. See who ends up coming on top. We're gonna slow it down a little bit so we see what exactly ends up unfolding. Okay, Aatrox ends up trying to flank. Okay, Vlad ends up getting chunked down a bit too hard right there. Maokai pops the ultimate. Kha'Zix is trying to look for a pick. Maokai gets chunked down by Wayne. Okay, let's slow down. So Wayne got Maokai, Riven, did get Kai'Sa. The other three of them are quite chunked down, and we can already see where this game is going. This guy is dead, absolutely. Aatrox won't really be able to do that much into all of them, simply way too much. Yeah, that's an ace, that's a clean ace. That we spoke about at the start of the game. With Kayn not being fed enough, not being strong enough, there is simply not enough hope regarding the game itself. He needs to be strong enough to carry this game. That did not happen, and with it, they're going to be able to take the Baron off of that alone, and that ends up putting them in a pretty clean path towards victory. She should get the turret right there, back away. That's a Drake as well. Is it taken? Apparently not. They end up taking a reset. Okay, yeah, it is taken. Yeah, it does not show on the beard. Does not matter. The Drake gets taken by the Kha'Zix, which was expected. That was a correct play. And now simply the blue team is stuck in the fight for survival. They need to see whether anything is gonna happen that they're gonna be able to play around of, but the game is not looking that great. They need to make some play around of their turret. They need to look for something. Okay, let's go back. Let's roll back. Let's roll back. Vlad ends up pushing. Vayne ends up overcommitting to it. That kills her. She wanted to grid out for Vlad. That's a good fight for the. Okay. That was a pretty good fight for the red team, but essentially got aced by the Riven, failed to kill her early on, and she just ended up soloing them. Was not expecting Riven to pick up a solo Quadra right there, but she did. She gets a turret off of that. She gets the inhib as well. So now the red team has their first inhib. Blue team essentially does end up being in even a messier spot than they were a bit earlier. Let's go back, slow down. Riven takes out Aatrox. Kayn takes out Kha'Zix. Alright, this turret gets taken out, and simply the gold lead is starting to rack up. Like we are at 70,000 at the moment, which is quite a number. Okay. Yeah, so I do think you ended up getting quite a lot out of this one. I'm gonna have to stop it right now because I do have a quick session I must head to, but I do think it was a pretty solid one. If you end up having any questions regarding this game, feel free to drop me a